All right, guys. Well, welcome to the Wellness 101 webinar for flight crews. I want to thank you so much for taking some time out of your day today to spend a bit of time with me learning about your health. So, today's webinar isn't going to be super long because I know we all have short attention spans and are really busy. So, I do want to respect your time. Basically, what we will touch on today are some nutrition basics. I'm not going to go too in depth here, and for some of you, this might be information you already know, and for some of you, it may be brand new, but in any case, it's still important to know. Then we are going to get into the 5 negative health effects of flying. So these narrowed down are the main concerns of our health within the aviation industry. And then, of course, we are going to talk about the solutions to counteract these 5 negative health effects. All right, so before we get started, I thought I would take a quick moment to introduce myself, if that's okay with you. So, my name is Kaylee Bowman, and I am the creator of the group, the Flight Attendant Nutrition Hub. So, why did I create this group? Well, I used to fly for WestJet. I actually left last September. And while I was flying, I went back to school to study holistic nutrition, and I took interest in flight attendant health. So I started researching the health of flight crews, and I actually wrote my case studies on my findings. What I discovered was that our bodies are under a lot of stress when we fly, and we will touch on exactly what happens to our bodies later on in this webinar. But I also noticed that nobody is really talking about our health. Our airlines don't say much, and there is some galley gossip about what happens, but it is in general very under discussed. Also, I discovered that there is such a need for flight attendants to learn and understand how to properly pack their lunch bag for trips, and to understand what they're allowed to bring transborder, and how to avoid what I call back alley binging, and how to get restful sleep in hotels, and basically how to stay healthy with this amazing job. And so I created this group to share knowledge and start a conversation about these topics. And so, what exactly qualifies me to teach this stuff? Well, like I mentioned earlier, I flew as a flight attendant for WestJet, so I totally get the lifestyle. I lived it too. I studied holistic nutrition through the Canadian School of Natural Nutrition in Toronto. And then in September, when I left WestJet, I went to Australia, and there I studied life coaching at the Life Coaching College of Australia. So I did my 2 levels of coach mastery there. So my specialty while I was working in Australia with what I call regular people was fusing the gap between what people know and getting them to actually do it. I learned very early on that there's not a lack of knowledge out there, there's just a lack of action. The information is already out there, the books have already been written, the documentaries have already been filmed. People know in general what to do, they're just not doing it. And so I was working with a lot of people specifically who struggled with food and sugar addictions. And now I'm transitioning to working entirely with flight crews. All right, so enough about me. Here's the little agenda, which I already touched on earlier. So like I said, we're going to do a quick overview of some nutrition basics, and then we're going to look at the 5 negative health effects of flying, and then we're going to look at nutrition and wellness solutions specifically for flight crews. All right, so before we go any further, I just wanted to touch on some wellness principles. So these are the 5 wellness principles that I really run my life from, and these are the principles that I guide my clients to run from as well. So there is no one-size-fits-all approach to health. Please understand this. We are all so biochemically different. What works well for your friend may not work for you. Okay, we're all different. Eat real food, period. In a world where so much of our food is processed, I know this can be challenging, but just be very aware of what you put into your body. Look at the ingredients of the food you eat. If you can't pronounce it or understand it, then your body probably doesn't digest it very well. Eat food as close to their natural state as possible. Be proactive, not reactive. This is the whole point I tried to make with you guys about the aviation industry. Just because there is no medical professional yet who's boldly declared the negative health effects of flying and how it harms your body, doesn't mean that you should ignore it. Make sure you are taking care of your body every single day. One of my favorite quotes, or not really quotes, but an explanation by Jim Rohn, is when he describes failure not as this one big, grandiose event, but rather these small errors in judgment made daily. It's not like after one unhealthy meal, you gain 30 pounds. But if you eat a chocolate bar every single day for 2 years, then you might wake up one day and feel like you just packed on 30 extra pounds overnight. It's the compound effect. Great health is so much more than what you look like or the food you eat. I actually described this to my friend the other day as I related it to a rotten apple. I said that just because someone looks thin on the outside, they could be very sick on the inside. So just as a rotten apple can look perfectly healthy and edible on the outside, it could have a rotten core. Health goes so much further, guys, than just your physical appearance. How is your mental state? Are you happy and blissful and motivated, or are you pessimistic, anxious, and stressed? Do you have fun in your life? How are your relationships? Do you take time to exercise and move your body? These all contribute to great health. And lastly, always ask yourself when you're making food or you're hungry, how can I enjoy food I love that nourishes my body and doesn't destroy it? There is no reason to deprive yourself of food that tastes freaking awesome. There's always a way to enhance healthy food and to create recipes which knock your socks off. All right, so let's dive a little bit deeper into food. So what I want to discuss with you guys today is just to go over the nutritional basics from a macronutrient and micronutrient perspective. So there are 3 macronutrients. Macronutrients are where we get our energy or calories from in food. So this is what all food is made up of, and it is how it fuels our body. So there is protein, carbohydrates, and fat. And then there are also micronutrients. So micronutrients are vitamins and minerals. And our body does not derive any calories or energy from micronutrients, but these are all essential to support normal bodily functions. One of the biggest ones is acting as a coenzyme in enzymatic reactions. All right, let's talk about protein. So protein, as you probably have already heard, is dubbed as the building block of life. So with protein, during digestion, the body breaks down protein we eat into individual amino acids. And this contributes to what's called the plasma pool of amino acids. And this pool is a storage reserve of amino acids that circulate through your blood. So the amino acid pool in the bloodstream readily trades with the amino acids and proteins in our cells. So it provides a supply of amino acids or food, basically, as needed, and is continuously replenished. Think of it like a Vegas buffet of protein for the cells. Since our bodies need proteins and amino acids to produce important molecules in our bodies like enzymes, hormones, neurotransmitters, and antibodies, without adequate protein intake, our bodies can't function well at all. Proteins help replace worn-out cells, transport various substances throughout the body, and they aid in growth and repair. Consuming protein can also increase levels of the hormone glucagon, and glucagon can help to control body fat. So glucagon is released when blood sugar levels go down, and this causes the liver to break down stored glycogen into glucose, or energy, for the body. It can also help to liberate free fatty acids from adipose tissue, so from fatty surface tissues, which is another way to get fuel for cells and to make the body fat do something useful with itself instead of hanging around your midsection. It also is a precursor for serotonin, so this is why it helps balance the mood. All right, so in terms of protein, we can basically boil it down to 2 types. So there's animal and plant protein. So animal protein is awesome because it's a complete protein. So what this means is that it contains all 9 essential amino acids. Essential amino acids, so these 9 essential amino acids our bodies cannot make on their own. Therefore, we must get them from the food in which we eat. They also have a high biological value. So biological value is a scale of 1 to 100. So it's a percentage of how well our body uses the food. The only caution with animal protein is be very cautious of its source. So in life as we know it today, there are a ton of added hormones to meat. Animals also feed off of, you guys know all of this, I'm sure, various grains. So there's a lot of really unhealthy animals out there that are now turned into our food. So there's a huge difference of what or how a grass-fed burger is going to digest and function in your body as fuel versus a McDonald's hamburger. So be very cautious of the source. They are not all the same at all. Secondly, there is plant protein. So plant protein, unlike animal protein, it's an incomplete protein. So what this means is that it does not, there are some exceptions, but for the most part, you must combine food in order to get the full amino acid profile. So one of the most widely known combinations are beans and rice. So beans will have about 7 of the essential amino acids, and then rice will have another 7. And together they combine to create a complete amino acid profile, essential amino acid profile. So rice will have 7 rice will have 7 essential amino acids, beans will have 7 amino acids, yes, and they come together, and what the essential amino acids that beans are lacking, rice makes up, and the essential acids that rice is lacking, beans will make up. I hope that makes sense. The exceptions to the rule are quinoa, so grains like quinoa, amaranth, and then also soy products, so like tofu and tempeh. These are all complete proteins. The awesome thing about plant proteins is that they are super high in micronutrients. So plants are very nutrient dense. So they have many, many vitamins and minerals, which we absolutely need, and it's crucial to our health and well-being. So for carbohydrates, my only thing with these is just to make sure that you're choosing complex carbohydrates, such as grains, if you can tolerate them, beans, lentils, vegetables, and fruit. So these are all excellent sources of carbohydrates. Carbohydrates are the quickest way to fuel your body with energy. They are very rich in micronutrients. They're great sources of vitamin A, C, B complex, E vitamins, and also high in minerals such as selenium, iron, magnesium, and potassium. And they also help balance your blood sugar with their fiber. So for fat, this is the last micronutrient and my favorite one. Fat has gotten such a bad rep over the years as being responsible for heart disease and obesity, but this is simply not the case. We absolutely do need fat in our diet, but we need to make sure that we are eating the right fat, the healthy fats. So the healthy fats, as I have under here for eat, are the monounsaturated fats. So think avocados, the polyunsaturated fat, so think omega-3s like fish oils, and then lastly, saturated fat. So yes, we do need saturated fat. Saturated fats are crucial for our brain function. So saturated fats are found primarily in animal products, but they're also found in coconut products. The ones you want to avoid are the rancid fats, like trans fat and hydrogenized fat, which are found in processed or deep fried foods. So some of the benefits of fat include that they are used to build our hormones and our nerves. They help our brain function optimally. Fat actually helps us release a hormone called leptin, which tells our brain that we're full. So this helps control hunger. It also reduces our potential to develop neurological degenerative diseases such as Alzheimer's. It keeps our skin healthy and youthful, and it is extremely beneficial for heart health. Be very, very cautious with low-fat food. Fat is a flavor enhancer. So when fat is removed from food, like milk, to make skim milk, they need to add something else to it to add the flavor back. And what they add is always sugar. And guys, sugar is so much worse than fat. Sugar is actually what causes us to become fat, but that is a whole other conversation, a whole other topic for a different workshop. All right, so vitamins and minerals, so our micronutrients. So for vitamins, we can really break it down into water-soluble vitamins or fat-soluble vitamins. So water-soluble vitamins are your B vitamins and your C vitamins. And then fat-soluble vitamins are your vitamins A, E, D, and K. Water-soluble vitamins, if you eat too much of these vitamins, you'll just pee them out. So it's very hard to for them to cause toxicity in the body. However, fat-soluble vitamins, they do get stored in the fat tissue, so they can become toxic if you take too much of them. Another thing to note is that in order to absorb these vitamins, since they are fat-soluble, you should include, or they're absorbed when you include fat in your diet. So another awesome reason to include healthy fats in your diet. And then for minerals, we have macrominerals and microminerals. So macrominerals are your calcium, phosphorus, potassium, magnesium, and sodium chloride, or as we know as salt. And then your microminerals, so that's iron, zinc, copper, chromium, fluoride, selenium, iodine, manganese, and molybdenum. I can't pronounce that one. But basically, what you need to know about these is that the macrominerals, you need at least 100 milligrams a day, and microminerals, you need less than 10 milligrams a day. All right, so now let's get on to, excuse me, the good stuff. Now, I know this is a webinar about wellness and not aviation history, but bear with me, there is a point to this. So with looking at this timeline, we can see that the Wright brothers discovered aviation in 1903. Okay, so this is where this industry really started, guys. This is in 1903. The Wright brothers discovered a glider. And then next, just over 10 years later, there was a first commercial flight from St. Petersburg to Tampa. So it was a 24-minute flight. And then 1935, Pan Am took their trans-Pacific flight from San Francisco to Manila, and it took a week stopping along the way and flying at 5,000 feet. Could you imagine being crew member on that flight? Craziness. And then the first commercial jetliner, it was a de Havilland Comet, flew in 1952. So this began the era of air travel or flying as we know it today. So what can we conclude from this? So my conclusion from this is that the aviation industry is a relatively new industry with not a lot of research done on the long-term health effects of pilots and flight attendants, right? So in the grand scheme of life, this industry hasn't really been around for that long. It's only been just over 60 years since we've been flying at the altitudes that we are today. So more importantly is this, the question of what really happens to your body when you fly. Well, throughout my research, I was able to narrow it down to these 5 main health effects of flying, which are that you'll become dehydrated, blood will pool in your legs, so your circulation will become impaired. You are exposed to cosmic radiation, so radiation from the sun. You'll expand like a beach ball. We have all felt this, the bloating that comes with flying, and especially after flying as well. And then you're also surrounded by germs. So I don't want to spend too much time on the problems. Let's get right to it. Let's talk about the solutions to counteract these negative health effects. So let's take a look first at how to counteract dehydration. Number 1, drink water, so much water. Are you surprised about this one? Probably not. I mean, this one is such a no-brainer, but it is probably one of the most talked about and under-actioned tasks there is. Most of us are not drinking enough water when we fly. The air inside the cabin of a plane usually has a humidity level of 10 to 20%. This is very, very low. It's much lower than a comfortable, typical indoor humidity of 30 to 65%. And for this reason, it's incredibly important that you take measures to keep yourself hydrated while you are flying. Some people will say 1 cup for every hour of flight. I say 2 cups or 16 ounces minimum for each hour of flying, because I know that most of us drink coffee. I know that, we're working, we're up in the cabin doing service. We're not just sitting like guests are. So for flight crew, 2 cups for every hour of flying. Minimize the amount of coffee you drink. This might break your heart. It breaks my heart. I'm such a coffee lover. In fact, I'm going to have a sip of my coffee right now. So good. But when you're flying, minimize the amount of coffee that you drink. Coffee is incredibly dehydrating, so minimize it, or at least try to. Maybe 1 to 2 cups a flight, depending on how long the flight is. There's so many other alternatives I'll get into later, a different time, of alternatives to coffee that will not dehydrate you. And lastly, bring electrolyte drinks like coconut water with you, or simply add lemon and Himalayan salt to your own water to create your own electrolyte drink. So electrolytes will help, they're minerals, and they'll help pull water into your cells and hydrate your cells instead of water just going right through you and, you peeing it out. All right. Let's talk about increasing circulation. So the number one way in which you can improve your circulation is to wear compression socks or tights. Most airlines support and encourage flight attendants and pilots to buy and wear compression tights or socks by including them in health benefits. So please, please, please take advantage of it. While flying, whether you're sitting for long periods of time as a non-revenue passenger or deadheading, or if you're standing for long periods of time when you're working, blood will pool in the lower legs and feet, and this weakens the valves. And yes, this can cause unattractive spider and varicose veins. However, these are usually not life-threatening. The real risk is that over time you can develop a condition called deep vein thrombosis, also known as DVT. And DVT is basically blood clots which form in the deep veins, usually in the legs. If these clots become dislodged, a piece can break off and travel towards the lungs, causing a pulmonary embolism, which unfortunately and sadly can become fatal. So add circulation-friendly spices or foods to your meals. So some of these include cinnamon, like cocoa or cacao. Yep. So dark chocolate, ginger, sunflower seeds, goji berries, grapefruit, tomatoes, watermelon, garlic, and salmon. And lastly, move your body, like whether it be in the back alley, do a couple calf raisers, or just maintain an active lifestyle when you're at home or when you're when you're on layovers. Make sure that you are moving your body. All right, so let's discuss protecting and detoxing from cosmic radiation. So this is one health concern that is 100% unique to our industry. Aren't we lucky? Cosmic radiation is the radiation that originates from outside of our solar system. Now, at ground level, this normally isn't a problem for us, but when we fly as often as we do, we travel to altitudes where the atmosphere is thinner, leaving us more exposed to cosmic radiation. So there are 3 main factors which can affect the amount of exposure we have to cosmic radiation. So this is altitude, so the higher we go, the greater the dose. Latitude, the closer we get to the poles, the greater the dose, and then the duration. So the longer we stay in the air, the greater the dose. Here's a scary example that I came across. So apparently a flight from Chicago to Beijing over the polar cap is estimated to give you the same dose of radiation as 2 chest x-rays. That is pretty crazy. So flight crews are classified as having jobs with occupational exposure to ionizing radiation because we fly again and again many times during the month. So what does this mean for our health, and why should we care? Well, cumulative doses of radiation can cause enough damage to cells to affect and harm their biological function and DNA. And what do damaged cells often turn into? Yep, cancer cells. The thing about cosmic radiation is that it's hard to measure the effect directly to your body, as the health consequences can take years to manifest. The true health risks have been hard to demonstrate, as cancers, which cosmic radiation seem to be linked to, are cancers which can take up to 30 years to manifest. So these are cancers like of the thyroid, the breast, and prostate. And just because the health risks have been hard to demonstrate does not mean that they aren't real. I often relate this to the tobacco industry, how, smoking was just the norm for years, and then it was almost like, boom, overnight. Everyone was talking about how it was directly related to cancer, lung cancer. They had to put warnings and advertisements up. I kind of feel like this is on a similar path. Now, I don't talk about cosmic radiation to scare you. In fact, I'm mentioning this to bring awareness to a part of your job that most people don't talk about or brush aside. We can't control the fact that cosmic radiation exists, but we can definitely control how much exposure we get, and we can choose foods and do certain activities that help protect our bodies and help detox the radiation. So one of the easiest and best things to do is to eat deep green superfoods. Two of my favorite, hands down, are the green algae, chlorella and spirulina. I love chlorella, and it's actually really interesting how they discovered its benefits for protecting the body from radiation was after the atomic bombs in Hiroshima. A bunch of scientists went out to study the people around the area, and they found this small little colony that was seemingly completely unaffected by the radiation. And then what they discovered was that when they kind of dove deeper into the lifestyle and what these people were eating, was that they were eating a diet rich in chlorella. Take a radiation detox bath after pairings. So this can just be done with salts. Like an Epsom salt bath after pairings is an awesome, awesome idea. Take radiation out of your body, out of your skin, and then minimize the amount of polar flying. So if you are doing a lot of international flights, just make sure that you are minimizing the amount of polar flying. And if you have any questions about this, you can contact your manager or even crew scheduling. They should be monitoring it themselves, but I know that every airline's different, and some of us have the liberty to pick up pairings whenever we want. So just make sure that you're very aware of the type of flying that you are doing. All right, so increase digestion. One of the best ways to reduce bloating and to help your digestive system function optimally is to avoid sulfur-rich gas-producing foods while you fly. So these include cruciferous vegetables like broccoli, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, and onions. Now, these are incredibly nutrient-dense foods, so please, please, please eat them while you're not flying. They're so good for you, but just don't eat them when you fly. Your belly will bloat. You'll probably feel pretty crappy. Take the time to chew your food. This is so important. Most of us do not have a digestive system that actually functions as it should. Almost every single one of us have digestive stress. So please take the time to chew your food. Don't just inhale it in the back alley. I know this is hard. Some flights are so busy and so quick, and there's so much going on, but please just try to make the time when you're eating to chew it properly. And then lastly, take digestive enzymes. So you can pick up digestive enzymes from any health food store. If you get a full spectrum digestive enzyme, just keep it in your flight attendant lunch bag and take one or two, depending on how heavy of a meal you're eating, when you're on the plane with the first bite of food. And this will help your digestion so much. Number 5, take care of your immune system. Eat foods rich in antioxidants. So these are foods that contain vitamins A, C, and E, as well as minerals, zinc, and selenium. These are usually like those really colorful, dark fruits and vegetables. So like goji berries, blueberries, blackberries, kale, broccoli, carrots, sweet potatoes. These are all very, very rich in antioxidants. Do not fly when you are sick. Guys, sick days exist for a reason. You are not doing yourself a favor or anybody else a favor when you fly when you are sick. Stay home. The airplane is not an environment that's going to help you heal and get better. In fact, it's probably going to do the exact opposite. And lastly, avoid processed foods and anti-nutrient foods. So foods that are, deep fried or high in sugar, high in salt, super processed, they actually harm your body by taking the vitamins and minerals from your body to digest them. So what this means is that since processed foods are basically completely void of nutrients, they don't bring anything good to your body, Remember when I talked about earlier how micronutrients, so vitamins and minerals, are a big factor. They're in coenzyme reactions, so they help in enzymatic reactions in your body. So what happens is when you take a chocolate bar and you take a bite of it, your body needs to break this down. And now a chocolate bar is just pure sugar, which is an anti-nutrient. It actually, your body will pull minerals from your bones and vitamins from your body tissues to act as enzymes in this digestion reaction. So it actually strips minerals and nutrients from your body. So this is one of the reasons why you'll feel hungry after you eat junk food, is because your body is actually losing nutrients when you eat this food, not gaining it, not even close. So do your best to keep processed foods, junk food to a minimum, and just focus on eating real foods that will nourish your body. All right, guys, that is it for today. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to join me with this quick little online workshop. If you have any questions at all, just send me a message on Facebook, or you can even email them to me. My email is hello@kalebykaylee.com. Whatever it is, I will get back to you. I love hearing your questions. So please reach out, and I will talk to you guys super soon. Thank you so much.